Hello and welcome to Ask a Mechanic. We're continuing our videos today on track day cars, and today we're going to talk about what happens if you have a track day or you do a couple of track days and you think, right, I've got the bug. I like this track day lark. I'm going to make sure that my car is track day only and I'm going to leave it and not use it for daily driving. What modifications could you potentially want to do to a vehicle which would make it horrendous to drive on the road? Now, I'm not talking about just driving it to the circuit for the track day. That's absolutely fine. Bear in mind, obviously, that whatever modifications you do, if you're driving it on the road, you will need to tell your insurer, otherwise, legally speaking, you are not insured. However, modifications which you may not want to daily, full roll cage or even a half roll cage, mainly because the fitting of which completely negates the use of the back seats. So if it's the car that you use to take the kids to school in, they're probably not going to be best impressed to have to wrap themselves around some scaffolding. So if you're going to fit a roll cage, just bear in mind that even road rally cars which have roll cages fitted with the back seats still in place, the back seats are not a great deal of use to sit in after the cage is fitted. So just that's something to bear in mind. Another thing to bear in mind is really hard suspension. Now, obviously, race circuits are generally pretty smooth. They have to be in order to be a predictable surface to drive on. However, you will find that most race and track only cars have very hard suspension. And the reason for that is that they don't need to be comfortable. And all they need to do is to grip the surface. Now, that's absolutely fine if you are in a track car or on a racing circuit, because the surface is nice and smooth. If you start trying to go down potholed country lanes and speed bumps with £600 springs on the front, you are soon going to be breaking your back and you're going to be shaking the car to bits as well. So I wouldn't recommend it. Another thing that you would only really want on a track focused car is solid engine mounts. And the reason that solid engine mounts tend to be a thing is because that means that less of the torque produced by the engine is going into actually activating the engine mounts themselves, and it's being transmitted through the gearbox to the wheels. However, the vibration through solid engine mounts is horrendous. It is something that you would live with on track, but something that you would not want to live with every day. You also find that it puts more strain on the rest of the vehicle, because obviously the vibrations from the engine are going through the rest of the vehicle, so they're going through the shell, going through the suspension and all the bolts and nuts on the rest of the vehicle as well. Another thing to bear in mind is tyre choice. We've touched briefly on tyres, but you will not really want to daily a vehicle that has got road legal slicks on it. And the reason for that is that they're not very good on standing water. Basically, it's just really a safety issue. Another thing to bear in mind is if you have any significant aero on the vehicle. So if the vehicle's very low and you have a big front splitter and you have a big diffuser on it, the likelihood is that you're going to catch these on the road or on speed bumps, or when you're trying to park and you're going to catch them on curbs. So the best thing really is to leave the really big aero for track based only vehicles. Another thing to bear in mind is seats and belts. Now, I personally would never ever recommend fitting a bucket seat with a harness without a roll cage. And the simple reason for that is that if you roll the vehicle and you don't have a roll cage, your body needs to be able to move out of the way of the roof. If it's strapped into a bucket seat with a harness, it can't do that and your head becomes the impact zone. So I would definitely not recommend doing that. However, there aren't any actual regulations against it. You also need to bear in mind, if you need your vehicle to pass an MOT, unless it is actually a certified competition vehicle, and that's that it has an MSA rally logbook, then it will need to have certain things that still work. You will need to have your airbags still functional, the same with ABS. The only exceptions to this being if either the vehicle has an MSA rally logbook showing it's a competition vehicle, or if the vehicle that you are modifying was able to be purchased from the factory without these safety features. If it was able to be purchased without these safety features, then you can remove them, because it is possible that the vehicle never came with them from the factory in the first place. If every model of that vehicle came with airbags, ABS or both, you will not pass a genuine MOT without them still being fitted. Your driver's seat will also need to be able to move backwards and forwards, and you will also need to be able to have a retractable seat belt. These are all things which need to be on a road car to pass an MOT, unless it's going for a competition specific MOT. Another thing that people tend to do with track cars is they tend to remove the headlights. And the reason why they do this, was several reasons really. The first one is that if you have an impact, you don't get broken glass everywhere. And the second one is that people tend to use them for air intakes. That's absolutely fine on circuit. Wouldn't recommend driving home from circuit at night without headlights though. So if it is not a track specific vehicle, just make sure that you keep everything in it that you need to pass an MOT. Bye for now.